Welcome to the Global Reader. Today, we explore the extraordinary life of Indira Gandhi, a woman whose shadow stretches long across the history of modern India. Born into the heart of India's freedom struggle, her life was inextricably linked to the destiny of a young nation. She was not only India's first, and to date only, female prime minister, but she was also a complex, powerful, and controversial figure who wielded unprecedented political power. Her story is one of unwavering resolve, geopolitical maneuvering, and a profound impact on the subcontinent. Our English focus today is mastering the passive voice, especially for historical events. The passive voice is used when the action is more important than the person who performed it, or when the doer isn't known or obvious, e.g., the Constitution was amended. Listen closely as we use this structure to narrate the massive events that shaped her era. This will help you sound more formal and authoritative when discussing history. Chapter 1. The Inheritance of Patriotism. Indira Nehru was born in 1917 in Allahabad, into the eminent Nehru family. Her grandfather, Motilal, and her father, Jawaharlal, were at the forefront of India's independence movement. Her entire childhood was spent in the epicenter of political agitation. Her home, Anand Bhavan, was constantly filled with activists and was frequently raided by British authorities. Because her parents were often imprisoned, much of her early education was conducted through the detailed letters her father wrote to her from jail. In these letters, the philosophical underpinnings of a free India were meticulously explained to her. As a young girl, she already exhibited a fierce sense of patriotism. By the time she was a teenager, she had organized the Vanasena, or Monkey Brigade, a children's movement that aided the freedom fighters by running errands and distributing confidential information. This early involvement meant that a sense of public service was instilled in her from a tender age. In 1942, she married Feroz Gandhi, a journalist and fellow freedom fighter. Soon after their marriage, they were both imprisoned for their participation in the Quit India movement. Thus, her commitment to the national cause was cemented by personal sacrifice and hardship. Chapter 2. The Apprentice and the Corridors of Power. When India gained independence in 1947, Jawaharlal Nehru became the nation's first prime minister. Indira moved into the prime minister's residence in Delhi to father's official hostess and confidante. This role provided her with an unrivaled apprenticeship in geopolitical affairs. She was exposed daily to high-level political discussions and diplomacy. Crucial foreign policy decisions were often debated in her presence. She traveled extensively with her father, meeting world leaders and observing the intricacies of international relations. Her early career was not defined by elected office, but by this intimate access to the corridors of power. The foundation for her eventual ascension was being laid. She was elected president of the Indian National Congress Party in 1959, a prestigious but largely ceremonial role at the time. However, it solidified her position within the party hierarchy. Following her father's death in 1964, she was appointed Minister of Information and Broadcasting in the cabinet of the new Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri. This position was instrumental in allowing her to cultivate a national image. Many political observers believed she would be a pliant figure, easy to manipulate. They were terribly mistaken. Chapter 3. The Unexpected Prime Minister and the Consolidation of Authority. In January 1966, Prime Minister Shastri died suddenly. A successor had to be chosen from within the Congress Party's senior leadership. The powerful party bosses, known collectively as the Syndicate, backed Indira Gandhi over her rival, Morarji Desai. They erroneously calculated that as a woman and a novice, she could be controlled. Thus, Indira Gandhi was elected as the Prime Minister of India and was sworn in as the world's second female Prime Minister on January 24, 1966. From the moment she took office, she began to shed the image of a puppet. She was an indomitable figure who took decisive action to consolidate her authority. In 1969, a major rift was created within the Congress Party. The party was split into two factions over her increasingly radical policies. The syndicate's attempt to oust her was thwarted by her shrewd political maneuvering. The passive voice is essential for describing her major economic reforms of this era. For example, in 1969, 14 major commercial banks were nationalized by a presidential ordinance. The privy purses that had been paid to the former princes of India were abolished in 1971 after a constitutional amendment was passed. These bold moves cemented her populist image among the poor and dispossessed, earning her the slogan of Garibai Hatao, abolish poverty. Chapter 4, The Geopolitical Triumph and the Resounding Mandate. The peak of Indira Gandhi's political career was the 1971 war with Pakistan, which resulted in the creation of Bangladesh. This geopolitical crisis tested her leadership to the absolute limit. Millions of refugees were forced to cross the border into India as a result of atrocities that were being committed in East Pakistan. India's resources were being stretched to the breaking point and an international response was demanded. Diplomatic efforts were made to resolve the crisis, but when they failed, military intervention was deemed necessary. A full-scale military confrontation was launched in December 1971. The Indian armed forces delivered a swift and decisive victory. The surrender of Pakistani forces in Dhaka was signed on December 16, and the new nation of Bangladesh was declared. This was a sounding triumph for India and a moment of unification for the country. Following the victory, Indira Gandhi was hailed as a war hero and a symbol of national pride. The 1972 general election was swept by her party with an overwhelming mandate. Her political dominance wasn't questioned. During this period of peak authority, India achieved another major milestone that is best described in the passive voice. In May 1974, an underground nuclear test was conducted at Pokhran in Rajasthan. This event, often referred to as Smiling Buddha, solidified India's status as a major global player, and the political messaging was tightly controlled by the Prime Minister's office. Chapter 5, The State of Emergency and the Erosion of Democracy. However, Indira Gandhi's unassailable authority soon led to a period of intense controversy and authoritarianism. The nation's economic woes, combined with mounting public discontent and judicial challenges, created a volatile atmosphere. In June 1975, the Allahabad High Court found her guilty of electoral malpractices in her 1971 campaign and declared her election void. She was ordered to step down from office. Rather than comply, she took the drastic step of declaring a state of emergency across the country in June 25, 1975. During this 21-month period, democratic norms were severely curtailed. Fundamental rights were suspended by presidential order. Political opponents, journalists, and dissidents were ruthlessly arrested and imprisoned without trial. The press was placed under strict censorship and all critical reporting was banned. The Constitution was also amended several times to give the Prime Minister immunity from prosecution and to increase the central government's power over the states. The rule of law was seen to have been eroded by the executive. After 21 months, elections were suddenly called in 1977, and in a shocking turn of events, Indira Gandhi was decisively defeated by a coalition of opposition parties. Her authoritarian excesses were repudiated by the electorate. For the first time since independence, the Congress Party was removed from power at the center. Chapter 6, The Return to Reckoning and the Tragic Climax. Despite her electoral defeat, Indira Gandhi's political career was not over. The subsequent coalition government was plagued by internal disputes and failed to deliver effective governance. Taking advantage of the disarray and using her popular appeal, she made a dramatic comeback. In the January 1980 general elections, Indira Gandhi was returned top with a sounding majority. Her political resilience was unmatched. Her final term, however, was dominated by the escalating crisis in Punjab, where a violent separatist movement was demanding a separate state. This crisis culminated in Operation Blue Star in June 1984, when the Golden Temple at Amritsar, the holiest shrine of Sikhism, was stormed by the Indian Army to flush out armed militants. The attack caused widespread damage and sacrilege, and the action was condemned by many as a terrible political miscalculation. The tragic climax to her story came on October 31, 1984. As a direct act of retaliation for Operation Blue Star, Indira Gandhi was assassinated by two of her own Sikh bodyguards at her official residence in New Delhi. The nation was plunged into shock and grief. Her long and tumultuous career, one that saw her transition from the symbol of democracy to the architect of authoritarianism, was brought to a violent end. Conclusion: the passive voice and the legacy of leadership. The life of Indira Gandhi is a testament to the complexities of power and leadership in a developing democracy. She was a figure of immense contradictions, simultaneously championing and suppressing dissent. Her decisions were always decisive, and her presence was always felt. For English learners, we have used the passive voice extensively to describe themajor historic events of her time. Banks were nationalized by her decree. Fundamental rights were suspended during the emergency, and the constitution was amended to fit her political needs. By focusing on the action and the object of the verb, you have learned to narrate history in a formal, impersonal, and powerful way. Continue to listen for the passive voice in historical accounts to strengthen your comprehension and mastery of this crucial structure.